Australia reeling after at least 15 people were killed and dozens injured when two gunmen targeted a Hanukkah celebration right there on Bondi Beach in an anti-Semitic terror attack. Senior Foreign Affairs correspondent Greg Palcott live in London with more. Hi, Greg.
Hey, Bill. Hey, Dana, sorry. Yes, the people in Australia, in fact, all around the world, are still in shock from the attack on Sunday. Police now say they expect to bring criminal charges against a surviving gunman in a deadly shooting spree that left 15 dead, aged 10 to 87. Dozens were hospitalized. Several remain in critical condition. A father, 50 years old, and his son, 24, targeted hundreds of people, adults, kids, gathered at a park at Sydney's famous Bondi Beach to mark the first day of Hanukkah. Officials describe it as a terrible act of anti-Semitism, in fact, an act of terrorism against the Jewish community. In one vivid scene, a bystander can be seen sneaking up on one of the gunmen, then tackling him, wrestling the gun away from the man, pushing him down to the ground, pointing the gun at him as the suspect backs off, and then putting the gun down. He would soon be wounded himself. In comments later, President Trump called him a very brave man. Here is one eyewitness and victim's account.
Welcome to the video, everybody. This is Justin Paul. So, I did a reaction to the news of, this terrorist threat that happened on Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia at a Hanukkah event. And as you just heard, a father 50 years old and a son who was 24 years old carried out this attack. And the father was killed during the whole thing, and the son critically injured, but he currently is going to be facing charges for this whole incident. Kudos to this guy here in the white. He eventually got hurt during this whole thing. Maybe the son shot him. Not really sure, but the number was around 12 at the time of my first video. Now it's moved up to 15 people who were murdered in this whole incident. Very, very, very tough really to have words for this whole type of thing. I was seeing some clippings saying that they were radicalized by ISIS, theology and ISIS type of rhetoric and stuff like that, which, I have to do more research to really know if that's true. It's just something that I've seen as far as headlines and just listening to a few clips, but it's just a lot of evil out here in the world. It's just plain and simple as that. People have a demonic aura about them, and they just look to go out and hurt people, especially people who, they just don't believe in what they believe in, or they don't agree with, what others agree with and stuff like that. They just don't see eye to eye. And they would choose to really react in violence versus trying to, strengthen their argument to, get their point across. They resort to things like this. So I just really, just want to say, my condolences to the family members of those who had lost their lives. I haven't seen a clip yet where they was explaining like who the people were that lost their lives and stuff like that. So of course that's going to come soon, but you have to be crazy. You have to be out of your mind. No matter where you are, Australia, United States, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter where you are, to think that it's gonna play out good for you if you're going out and, committing mass casualties like this. And especially when people are very vulnerable, like when you're in the water swimming or even on the beach, period. That's one of the most vulnerable times for anybody, because you're relaxing, you have your guard down, you're enjoying yourself, you may be taking a swim, you don't, not saying that clothes can protect you from bullets or anything like that, but you just out there, pretty much in just swimwear. And again, the last thing on your mind is that someone is going to come and, commit these type of, demonic acts as far as shooting stuff up. And, very, very unfortunate situation, horrible that's going on over there in Sydney, Australia. and yeah, I'm sure it's gonna take them a while to get back to some type of normalcy and stuff like that. But this is the type of stuff where you can't allow people to put a dim light on what you're trying to celebrate, and the cause of why you were actually out there celebrating, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to deter you from whatever you believe in as far as religion or your beliefs, and they're trying to just scare you to the point where you don't really want to go out and do anything. So see what else they have to say.
I saw at least one gunman firing, looked like a shotgun, firing randomly in all directions. I saw children falling to the floor, so elderly I saw, invalids I saw, people just, it was an absolute bloodbath, blood gushing everywhere.
As people today mourn the losses, more is learned about the shooters. The father, who died after being shot by police, was an immigrant who lived in Australia on various visas. The son, who was injured, reportedly was investigated by police a few years ago for his association with members of a Sydney-based cell of the Islamic State, or ISIS terror group. He was not deemed a threat at the time. Dana, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says he'll introduce new security measures to protect the Jewish population. Critics say he hasn't done enough, and he wants to tighten up already strict gun laws. The 50-year-old gunman had legal possession of 6 firearms. Now all are recovered. Back to you guys.
All right, Greg Palcott, thank you.
I mean, of course, at this point, all are going to be recovered because, I mean, the 50-year-old is deceased, so of course they're going to just go through his stuff and, get all his guns and stuff like that. So as you can hear, the son was actually, a part of a group that was influenced by ISIS. And, a lot of times these people will lay in wait for the perfect opportunity in order to do whatever they want to do and carry out whatever they want to carry out. They'll lay in waiting in order for that perfect opportunity. It takes a lot of discipline to do that, and of course, there's gonna be a lot more information released on these guys. I don't ever really recall ever hearing about like a father and son duo doing some stuff like this. So it's gonna be very interesting to see who influenced the other to go and commit this. It sounds like they both equally agreed to go do this, and it's just really a shame, man. Now that we have cameras everywhere and very high quality cameras, everyone who has a smartphone, has a great quality camera, you start to see a whole lot more than what you usually would see. Normally we would get like just a news clipping or, have to read an article, but now you get the first hand witness account of what goes on. So you can actually see the terror that happens, and just how chaotic things can be. As the one guy who you could clearly see he had dry blood all over his face. He said blood was gushing everywhere, like it's a horror movie or something. But this is reality. Stay vigilant, man. You got to stay vigilant. See if they have any more to this. Then I'll go ahead and close out this video.
So now, in the wake of the attack in Australia, President Trump with a message of support to Jewish Americans, telling Fox News this yesterday: "We celebrate proudly, be proud of who you are," end quote. The president also saying this at a Christmas reception at the White House last night.
And I think today we can first say loudly, we celebrate Hanukkah, because that was such a horrible attack. That was a purely anti-Semitic attack.
All right, Paul Morrow, former NYPD inspector, Fox.
Yeah, so I'm going to close this video out. President, they clipped up the speech that the president had there. I think there was like a live stream for the president, and others, also spoke and stuff like that. But I'm the type of person who was raised not to hate anyone, no matter if they agree with what I say, no matter if they, are of the same beliefs or different beliefs. None of that matters to me. My thing is everyone is able to coexist, and you shouldn't have to use violence to try to get over your point across to others, or just to spread the hate that you may have for another group. But it's easy to say, but everybody's going to do something totally different. It is what it is. You just gotta roll with it, and things like this, they happen in life, and it's very sad, very unfortunate. But at the end of the day, you know, you're not gonna get everyone on the same page, and that's just something that I've just come to realize. But if you like my content, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. I love reading the comments, whether they're good or bad. I've seen some negative comments come up and stuff like that, and some people were saying, "Oh, you talk slow," or "Why are you talking over this?" This is a reaction channel, and I'm from the South, so it is what it is. And if you do like my content or like my point of view, I do appreciate you for subbing, and I'm gonna keep going. Again, this is Justin Paul. Peace. Stay vigilant.